Well, hey guys, just practicing some trumpet, just some air reps as I do, It's Aiden, so it's just Aiden. Let's talk today about one of the hardest skills to master at all as a musician or as just a person in general, and that's being honest with yourself. My first honesty bomb of today is that my hair is really, really crazy, and there's not a lot I can do about it. So being honest with myself. Also, not very good at trumpet. I have played it in the past, but not very good right now, so I'm not playing it for the camera. Like I said, this is one of the hardest skills of all, being honest with yourself, like to the nth degree, not just being like, well, I could be better as a musician, a trombone player, whatever, but these are all my issues as a trombone player. I need to work on this and 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 this. It's being a little more specific, a little more not as general, because we all know that we're not the best players on the planet, at least most of us. But a lot of us probably don't admit the little things that we're not good at, and then we don't improve on those, and that's why we don't get better. This is something that the really top players have, is that they're extremely honest with themselves. They're the people who record themselves all the time, they play for their friends all the time, they play for people who are not their friends all the time. They get lessons even though they know they're just going to completely crash and burn in front of these people, and they just do it anyway because they need that experience. That's how they get better, and that's how they get to that very, 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 very top level, is that they're never deluding themselves in some way. Actually, I've been thinking about this lately because it hit me really hard a couple weeks ago. And then I just saw this practice document by Tom Hooten, the principal principal trumpet of Los Angeles Philharmonic. That at the very top it was just like, be honest with yourself. And I was like, hey, I've been thinking about that. Yes, I'm like one step ahead right now. And the rest of it, no, I'm not doing any of that. But that one thing, I am doing. And it's something that I don't see in a ton of people, musicians or otherwise. It's really easy to delude yourself. I'm definitely in this camp like 90% of the time, and I'll tell you my recent story about it in a second. And this is one of those skills that takes a lot of mental fortitude. Like playing scales and stuff, it's really good for you. It's a skill we all need to master. It's not easy. It doesn't really take a lot of mental fortitude to be good at scales. You kind of learn the pattern, play the pattern all 12 keys and all your ranges, and then you kind of got it. Being honest with yourself takes a lot of mental strength, because you're going to constantly be beating yourself down and then building yourself back up, and then beating yourself down in a different way and building yourself back up. It's one of those skills that takes a lot of brain energy to keep going, a lot of grit. I have that in quotes here. I think I've told this story a few times, but there were 2 times in my masters that I can remember where I thought very seriously about not continuing on in music, and trombone specifically, but maybe even just music altogether. I was just like, am I really good enough for this? Because right now, I'm not. And do I have the mental strength to continue to keep improving, even though right now I feel like I'm just so far behind? And somehow I woke up the next morning both of those times and just kept going. Maybe because it was the easiest thing to do at the time. We'll find out later. But this is one of those times where I think maybe I showed some grit and I kind of came back fighting, and I got a lot better both of those times. But there are definitely maybe some people out there, and I've seen it happen in college and otherwise, who have kind of hit that wall and then they go off and do other things. And sometimes that's the right move. Maybe it would have been the right move for me to go off and do accounting or something. Who knows? But to have that grit to come back after being honest with yourself and being like, wow, I'm really behind, and being like, you know what, I'm okay with being behind, I want to go here, and then just constantly pulling yourself towards that point. Takes a lot of mental fortitude and grit. I think for me, it's really necessary for me to be more honest with myself than others are going to be with me. It's very rare that you find a teacher or a friend or whoever who's going to be just completely 100% honest with you. I know I have thoughts about people I hear all the time. I'll be like, I'll listen to them play and be like, well, that note's out of tune. I'm not sure about these attacks right here. This sound and this register sucks. oh, these slurs aren't very good. I'm not sure about their musical choice here. And then later I'll go up to them and be like, hey, sounds great. Love your playing. Because obviously we don't want to be 100% honest with other people all the time. That would just be a bad move for a lot of reasons. But sometimes you really have to do that stuff to yourself. And I think it's more important that you do it to yourself than others do it to you. I think it's good to get that from other people sometimes, but it kind of beats you down if it's all the time. I think there are some teachers out there like that. I've heard that about Joe Alessi. I'm not sure if that's true. But he's just not going to let you get away with anything. And obviously it shows in his students. They do great things all over the planet. They have jobs everywhere because they had someone else be super 100% honest with them, and they're probably really honest with themselves, and they just know exactly what they need to work on, and they keep moving forward. So I think the more important skill is to do it yourself. If you can get it from someone else, that's great. That's just really difficult because I find very few people that are going to really tell you exactly what you're doing wrong. And thankfully people like Joe Alessi can tell you how to fix it. He's not just telling you what's wrong, but that just is it's a very rare thing. So do it yourself rather than relying on other people. And my next point is it's really easy to get stuck in your own little world where you kind of just know what you're doing and you think you're doing it pretty well. I've been there so many times. I mean, I lived that for 6 years at my undergrad. I just kind of went, wow, I'm doing great. You guys can see it in my videos back then. I just kind of kept coasting and doing my own thing. I never recorded myself. Everyone around me told me, hey, you sound great, because compared to most of the people around me, I did sound pretty good. So I just kind of coasted, and then I came to the real world here in California and went, oh, I'm really terrible at a lot of things. And I've gotten a lot better since then, but that lack of self-honesty for so long really held me back for a long time. And of course, there's good ways to get out of that. Even if you are just sitting in a shack in the mountains practicing by yourself, record yourself. That's the biggest thing. I have this Zoom right here that I record with every day, except for the last 2 days because I'm being a bad person. I'll just record. I'll be like, you know what does my warm-up sound like right now? Does this sound really tense? And I'll just record the whole thing, and then I'll come back after a break, and I'll listen to it. And I'll go, oh, that sounds all right. Sounds like I'm getting warmed up. This exercise sounds like it's not really helping me at all. It sounds like it's just taking a lot of energy. It sounds pretty tense. This just doesn't sound good at all, but it's getting me warmed up. And I'll go through my stuff. Maybe I'll listen to an etude and be like, wow, all of this is just super out of tune, and I can't hear that behind the bell, so I need to get out the drones or the tuner. Recording yourself is just like the biggest thing. I have an audition coming up, so I'm going to start playing the entire list down in a random order, and I'll record it, and then I'll go back and listen and be like, oof, I need to work on this and 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 this. Because I have pretty good ears as a teacher, but playing I have completely different ears, and I need to slowly make those the same ears and make sure that the recordings kind of match what I'm hearing in my head. So recording yourself is like the biggest thing. And then the other thing you can do is play for people that you trust. And I have trust underlined. It's easy to play for people who are just going to tell you that you sound great. And I think we've all been there. I get that from people sometimes. I'll play whatever for them. They're like, hey, sounds good. Let's go eat lunch or whatever. And I'm like, that's not helping me at all. I'm glad I played for you. I'm glad I got this rep. But I need feedback. I need detailed feedback. So play for people that you trust to really tell you what's going on. Maybe you have a Joe Alessi sitting around and he just wants to hear you play. Maybe your parents are very musical, or you have friends who know exactly what you're playing is like. Play for people that you trust to give you good information, tell you exactly what's wrong. There are people who will critique you who don't really know what they're talking about. I hear this a lot, especially in the college level, who just kind of, they'll have like a whole list of things, and I'll look at the list and be like, none of that is very correct if I'm listening to the same person. So people that you trust is really important. And of course that gets you better at playing for other people, which is what we do in real life. And I have a feeling this skill is going to take you farther than almost any other skill. Obviously you got to get better at like the breathing and buzzing and moving valves or the slide and stuff. All the really basic instrument stuff, being a musician, listening to music, all that's really important. But if you're not honest with yourself about what your problems are and how you can fix them, then you're not going to progress nearly as far as someone who is. So check it out, record yourself, that's the biggest thing, and I'll see you guys next time.